Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
At CDW, we get speed as the new currency of success.
Our team spends way too much time tending to outdated applications and software when they should be focused on driving application agility and innovation.
CDW Amplify Development Services modernizes software and application development to help accelerate innovation and digital transformation.
So you mean building new applications, UI, and mobile interfaces?
Well, you said you needed to innovate more quickly.
Oh, so he's a listener.
To do more at scale, trust CDW Amplify Development Services.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, this is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together, we can be the change.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
Now, you can't live in Texas and not have a good red meat blend. Texas Cowboy Dust is designed for steak and other red meats. It's out to be my most popular spice blend, made with onions, peppers, ground mushrooms, pink salt, and other spices. Texas Cowboy Dust also goes great with chicken, pork, vegetables, and adds a restaurant-quality sheen to gravies and sauces.
It's like a loop machine. All around town, people trying to get down.
Vanilla smoked sea salt seasoning is for seafood. The tarragon and fennel bring out the natural sweetness in seafood. I also use it in rice dishes, on yams, asparagus, blueberry pancakes, and believe it or not, chocolate chip cookies. Vanilla smoked sea salt adds a salty and savory component to sweet dishes that create a symphony for the tongue.
Itchy, squirmy, scratchy, family not getting clean? Get Charmin Ultra Strong. Go get 'em! It just cleans better. With a diamond weave texture, your family can use less while still getting clean.
Goodbye, itchy squirm. Hello, cream bottom.
We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
Bounty versus the old family dish towel. Drying with a fresh sheet of Bounty leaves your hands cleaner than a used dish towel that can carry and redistribute food residue. So ditch the dish towel for better hand hygiene. Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
One bite of 100% Angus beef ballpark frank, and you'll say, hello, summer. Oh yeah, it's ballpark season.
Oh, that spin class was brutal. Well, you can try using the Buick's massaging seat. Ooh, yeah, that's nice.
Can I use Apple CarPlay to put some music on?
Sure, it's wireless. Pick something we all like. Okay, hold on. What's your Buick's Wi-Fi password? Buick Envision 2021. Oh, you should pick something stronger. That's really predictable. That's a really tight spot. Don't worry, I used to hate parallel parking. Me too. Hey.
Really outdid yourself.
Yes, we did.
The all-new Buick Envision, an SUV built around you, all of you.
Maureen is saving big holiday shopping at Amazon, so now she's free to become Maureen the Merrier. Food is her love language, and she really loves her grandson. Like, really loves.
Charmin Ultra Soft.
Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. Man. I hope my team they won. I hope my team they won. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Charles Bishop is literally on assignment. I don't know how you get to go on assignment to be on the Miami Beach, Miami Gardens, but you know, I guess there's a little game down that way between Jackson State and FAMU. Some things are going on. We'll see how it turns out. We'll talk about it in the second half of the show. But with that being said, welcome to episode 298 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast. The show that's covering the sporting HBCU dash for all things HBCU sports for institutions large and small, from the NAIA to the NCAA. When we share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs in the business of HBCU sports, as we like to call it around here, HBCU sports pedagogy. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my co-host, Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. As I said, Charles Bishop is on assignment, but we're filming from our home studios and sending a signal live. The KSOH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, Ralph Cooper, in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. With that being said, I have Mike Washington in the building. How you doing, Mike?
I'm fine, Doc. How you doing? It's Thursday. We are past week zero, ground zero. We are week one, full schedule. It's time to get it on.
Yes, it is that time, and I'm gonna let y'all just in the second half. I'm gonna let y'all go in. We're gonna talk about the games of the week. Gonna see what you think, and we're gonna really get into some of this numbers. I got some folks that know what they're talking about, so we're gonna let y'all chop it up a little more. We got AD Drew. How you doing today?
Look, as the only brother on this show who does not have a button down and a collar on right now, excuse me, you can see I'm ready for football this weekend. You know, I don't care. I got another day to work. I done already got my fandom going with my Tuskegee shirt on, fellas. So
yeah, if you ain't got a button down, a tie, if you want to call it, at least you do are representing your HBC ready for some games. You know, we do have some of the professors over there in the Department of Health Kinesiology. Oftentimes, they got to get out there and show the students how to get it done. So they wear t-shirts. So we understand.
Got to be comfortable.
Right. And now we got a new one in here. We got a newbie, guys. We got the adjunct. We got Joshua Sims Jr. Representing North Carolina Central in the MEAC. Y'all said y'all wanted MEAC representation. We found it. And he's the eagle. He going to let it fly.
He is flexing.
Yeah, I see him. That's the eagle. He's the eagle flying, baby. He's
stretching them wings out.
Let him fly. Yes. He is the host of HBCU Nightly. We'll let him tell you a little more about that. You can catch him on Twitter Spaces as he does his thing and bring different guests in, and they talk about HBCU sports in general and give a great perspective. So make sure you check him out. Make sure you follow him on Twitter. That's Joshua Sims Sr. You can make sure you find him there. Before the end of the show, we'll make sure that we give that plug again. But with that being said, Joshua, how you doing?
Man, doing phenomenal, man. Blessed and highly favored. Live here from the Queen City, getting ready for the biggest HBCU football weekend in the country this weekend. 100 Aggie Eagle Classic. So, Doc, I'm locked in, locked and loaded, baby. I can't complain.
I hear y'all just about sold out tickets. That was earlier, so they might have sold them out. And there's questions on whether they're going to even open up the deck because so many people want the tickets. It'll be interesting to see what that is about. What are your thoughts on that real quick?
Man, yesterday I had the esteemed opportunity to be at Charlotte Sports Foundation yesterday, who's the organizational body that's putting on in coordination with Duke's Mayo Classic. They're the organizational body that is putting on the Ag Eagle Classic this year in Charlotte. And in the conversations yesterday, Doc, everybody in the office yesterday sounded like we was getting ready to sell out, and that the conversation had already started about opening up the upper deck. So I know that they were trying to aim for more of a Charlotte FC kind of the soccer team type of feel. But look, man, going to open up that top deck, baby. We're gonna fill that up too. We'll put 70,000 in there so they can keep bringing us back in here. That's how we want to do it anyway.
Yes, sir. I like that. That's the attitude to have. I certainly will have my eyes on that game. As long as we got you there, we know that we're going to get all the information. And we'll make sure after the game this weekend, maybe Sunday or Monday, or even later next week, we'll make sure we'll bring you back and give us the update so you can give us a breakdown on exactly what took place. And in your mind, I know you're saying it's going to be an equal victory. Now, don't worry with my Aggie Pride friends out there. I don't want you to say Cavil ain't fair. I invited Jamie Walker, but he had prior obligations. So, we did have Aggie representation. We got the Rattlers on here. We normally have Charles Bishop, but he's out on assignment. So I don't want the Jackson folks saying that the water crisis has us treating people wrong. We up there praying for y'all. In all seriousness, we want to make sure you take care of yourself. But we want to let y'all know that wasn't enough. Then we got the Prairie View Panther here. Now we just got to see which side Mike going to represent because he got a little Texas Southern Tiger in there. But I think I'll have to take over the Tiger side. I'll let him handle with the Prairie View side. We're going to make sure we get in all these matches. Much more Tuskegee. For Valley, we got somebody that can give us a little bit of insight on that CIAA. We got an SIAC CIAA matchup this weekend. So we're going to get into it all. But with that being said, I'd be remiss. It's just amazing to me how there is always this connection with HBCUs across the board in general, particularly in sports. Serena Williams is doing her thing in terms of her last dances. Some people might say at the U.S. Open. She's won first two games, including last night when she beat it number 2. The thing about that is FAMU has news, and they're in for some positive news, which is timely. The FAMU Beta Alpha chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated made a grand slam at the U.S. Open's Fan Week with their stepping skills. Their performance honored the legacy of #FAMU alumni Thea Gibson, the first Black tennis player to win a Grand Slam tournament, who was also a member of the Beta Alpha chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority over there at FAMU. So we say strike and strike again. So I wanted to get that out there just to show y'all when I talk about the sporting HBCU diaspora, the HBCU sports culture and how it cuts cloth, I'm just showing y'all what I'm talking about, just so y'all know. With that being said, we're going to go with our updates with a guest today. We'll go with Joshua in regards to what's some news that's hot on your mind, besides obviously the big game over there. What else is going on in your world in terms of HBCU sports?
Absolutely, man. Well, I want to give a nod to our HBCU alum who have made the 53-man roster in the NFL. I'm a football guy. I'm a football first guy, even though I graduated from a basketball school, to say the least. So I want to give a huge nod to my guys who have made the NFL roster, officially made the 53-man roster. Another super salute to guys who may not have made the 53-man active roster, but made the practice squad, had an opportunity to jump on some of these travel teams, and will have an opportunity to be able to get on some teams later on in the season, pending some injuries. Obviously, we don't wish anybody to get any injury, but in the case that somebody does end up getting injured, it would always be good to see an HBCU guy suit up on Sundays, Mondays, Thursdays, and represent for the HBCU brand. So that's where I'm at, dog. I'm glad to see these guys getting that paper on the professional level. And I'm going to be even more excited in a little bit over a week here when we get a chance on Sunday, on Thursday night when it kicks off, to see some of the HBCU guys that are already on active rosters to be able to show out and represent.
Point well made, because that is a nice little weekly check. what I think 10, 12, $14,000 a week or something like that. So not too bad. Obviously, when you think of the NFL, people think millions, but hey, you got to start somewhere, and you're making a bigger check than a lot of folks make in terms of their weekly income. So let's make it work. I like that shout out. Great point. Let me go to you, Drew. We're going to put you next on the list since you're the regular visiting clinical professor, as we say around these parts. What's on your mind with some of the HBCU news of the day?
And I think you guys went over this on Tuesday, but I want to bring this back out. Is Maryland Eastern Shore names Tara Owens as their athletic director. This comes from bxsports.com. Owens joins the campus after 4 successful years at Central State University in Wilberforce, where she grew student athlete enrollment by 110% and secured $2.5 million in funding for renovations to athletics. Prior to that, she was director of athletics at Baltimore City Community College, where she was named Maryland Junior College Athletic Conference Coach of the Year 3 times. She's also held in places such as Norfolk State, Elizabeth City State, Cheney University, and Petersburg Public Schools. So congratulations. And my rattling beer is supposed to come out right now. Another school gets an athletic director, a permanent or full-time athletic director, not an interim, before FAMU does. We've been at this since April in Tallahassee.
That sounds like shots fired.
That's supposed to slow you down, but I can't even blame you on that one. That's a good point. That is another one. They just keep coming.
They just keep coming.
FAMU can do their thing.
Now, one last thing on that. There's an emergency board of regents meeting tomorrow in Tallahassee. Don't know if the athletic director will be named in that meeting, but I hope there's some specific leadership, guidance, and necessary reprimands come out of this meeting, because they say all news is good news, but I don't know about this one in this situation. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not gonna take up too much of the time. We gotta let Mike get something in. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're gonna let Mike get it in because ONG Strike Zone. Shout out to those guys over there. They made sure that everybody in the world had an idea what many of the FAMU faithful was thinking about, and you just made sure you dotted the I or crossed the T, I's and T's that they were thinking about. Mike, what is the HBCU news today for you?
Man, I can't beat that, man. But somebody always got to get that rattler strike in. We didn't even have to throw that one in there. I mean, seriously, is that what?
5 months, Mike. I deserve to get that one in.
I don't care. You didn't have to throw that one in there. I mean, let him stay in the background where he's at. All right. So, what's up, Roy? How you doing?
Shout out to the producer there. For those that don't know who Roy is, don't see him on the screen. That's why he's the producer. Mike, you see, you got put on mute for that.
So I don't know if you talked about this or not, Doc. I was in the air on Tuesday, but how about this SWAC partnership with the Philadelphia Phillies? Did you get a chance to talk about that?
We jumped on that. But we shouted you out as a data person, so at least
I was going to
cover it, but let us know your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I think it's big because it's, data point. You always hear me say data points, but analytics can really be a big part of not business, but it's showing you it's a big part of sports. And it opens doors for people who might not otherwise be considered for this industry. So it's big. It lets you know how analytics goes not only to the performance, but it also goes to the business. So big shout out. I won't rehash it. I didn't have a chance. I was in the air on Tuesday, but big shout out to this partnership with the Philadelphia Phillies.
Good one, as they say. Good one. Let me give a shout out before we take this first break and come back with some of the poll rankings, including the marching sport. With that being said, shout out to Karen Griffin, Tuskegee TU's in the house. Chuck Hunt, I'm ready for some football. I know that's right. Dexter Hill says Aggie Pride. Lonnie Shaw, up above my head, I hear thunder in the air. There must be some HBCU football somewhere. Young folks don't know about that. Yes, sir, Lottie. I like that. That's nice. That's nice. Keep that one coming. Aggie Eagle Classic is a huge gathering. Yes, it will be. Chuck Hunt says, I'm here. Shout out to Leonard. North Carolina A&T will have smoked eagle wings in Charlotte as the Aggies will barbecue North Carolina Central. The only thing missing is what kind of sauce go with those wings. Josh, we'll let you get in here. We'll get you some time to get some payback on that. Troy, Lamont, Coleman, Doc, can't believe you're still on losing Eagle train. Oh, my goodness. Hashtag shaking my head. That Aggies up and waiting. Karen Griffin is out here. G. Boom Holly's in the house. Kevin Crawford. We're going to have G. Boom Holly joining us later in the year as we start getting into these marching sports. He's a former drum major of Prairie View, so he'll make sure and check me in terms of what he thinks. Remember, when we do our poll ranking, it's about wins and losses. So we're going to make sure he understands that. Kevin Crawford, Theo Quest, Major Garland Dunlap. Brother Wendell Davis is in the house over there in Alabama. Theo Quest, as I said, Donald Crawford, Jimmy L. Wilson. I'm late, but I'm here. Yeah, that's why we didn't lock the door on you, Jimmy. We knew you were coming. Thanks for sending that early head nod, because you know I'll lock the door on you. You get that F squared in your life. Ricky Burton, the wrong Ed Cooper. Good evening, professors. Let's get into our first break. We'll be right back after this.
Charmin Ultra Soft has so much cushiony softness, it's hard for your family to remember. They can use less.
Sweet pillows of softness.
This is soft.
Holy Charmin. Oh, excuse me. Roll it back, everybody. Sorry.
Charmin Ultra Soft is so cushiony soft, you'll want more, but it's so absorbent, you can use less, so it's always worth it.
Now, what did we learn about using less?
You gotta roll it back, everybody.
We all go, why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
This is Brian Fulford. A.B. Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
That's a pretty tight spot.
Watch this.
Of course your Buick parks itself. That's so you.
It's just up here on the right.
Of course you know where we're going. That's so you.
Kinda got a sixth sense.
And a head-up display.
They're here.
Hit the field, warm up. You brought all these players in your Buick?
Yeah,
So you.
it is.
There's a Buick that fits your life, because at the heart of every Buick SUV is you.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna loud, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bill with Inside HBCU Sports Lab. We're going to get into some of these poll rankings, if you would, as we got the band rankings going on. Let's start with the marching sport. We're going to go into our top 10. Remember, this is based on a couple of key matchups that took place this past weekend. You had the MEAC SWAC Challenge, which featured Howard, the Showtime Marching Band, against the Alabama State. We'll get in there in terms of those marching hornets and mighty marching hornets, as they like to say. Then obviously you had the National Battle of the Bands here in Houston with the top 8 thing. If you don't like the marching sport wins and losses, you blame it on Deuce. He's an 8-year-old, my son. He picked the poll ranking. So my fault if you can't get the young man excited. That's on you. He don't know no better. He ain't got no fandom in it. Win, loss. It is what it is. So you can't blame this one on me. It is nothing about the Deuce. So with that being said, let's get into these top 10. At number 10, you have Howard, Showtime Marching Band. As they got into it, they should be 0-1 in regards to they took the L. They did get in the top 10, but they took the L to Alabama State. Alabama State is one of those teams that's done well and surprised a lot of people, so it'll surprise you in some way. At number 9, you have Grambling State in terms of world famed Tiger Marching Band. They looked okay, but it was a lot of stiff competition. They do what they do, and I know they're world famed, but they took that L this last weekend. And number 8, North Carolina A&T, the Blue and Gold Marching Band. I'm not doing this because Johnson Sims is on the show. I'm just saying they came down here, and most folks were not excited about what the Blue and Gold Marching Machine. They did much better last year, but I don't know what happened this year. They were 0-1, 23 points. Number 7, Edward Waters Marching Band got it down as they played for Florida Memorial over there in Miami Gardens. They showed up and showed out, so they got a win on the season. Puts them at number 7. And number 6, you got Alcorn State Braves, the Sound of Dynamite Band. They got it in there and got it done well. With that being said, in terms of that, let me get in the top 5. I know we got a little sound in the background, so check it out. Hope it's not bleeding through. With that being said, let's get in that top 5 and see what that looks like. Kentucky State Mighty Marching Thoroughbreds, they won. They came in small band, but they do what they do. They keep getting these upsets. This is year 2 of the upsets. They upset Tennessee State last year, found a way in the top 10. They got another upset this year and found a way to be one of the top 4 bands in terms of the HBCU National Marching Band, Battle of the Bands. But at number 4, you have that Alabama State Marching Hornets. As I told you, they took down Howard. And they are 1-0. They got one first-place vote. We'll see if they can hang on it for the rest of the year at 71 points. And number 3, Southern Human Jukebox. 2 first-place votes, 1-0, 78. Probably with Southern, so many people excited about it. They secondly got it done in the stands, but on the field, they didn't get the same houses they usually. And I knew it was something different. And I guess the magnitude of what everybody expects from the Human Jukebox, sometimes they can play against you. But when you have your own marching member that's sitting in the crowd, he has his shirt on, he hype. But as you see at number 2, you have Prairie View A&M, the Marching Storm. When he sees the Marching Storm and he drops his head a little bit and just kind of shakes, I said, oh, yeah, that's not a good look. That's not a good look. 1-0, 1 first-place vote. But number 1 that took it was Bethune-Cookman Marching Wildcats. They got it done. They got the house. They had where when you looked over there, you had the phones come out and everybody turns on the lights. You had a couple of them before the end of the show. They had both sides of the dome rocking with the phones, with the background. Sound was great. Music was in there. And, you know, they just do a great job in terms of being solid. And that's what Deuce said. He said, look, he was excited. He told him, and I asked, who won? Who top 3? He tried to share some love to his mom, which is the Alabama A&M Marching Band, but he said they didn't quite cut it, so they didn't even make the top 10. I'm not telling her, so y'all make sure y'all don't tell her to see the show today because I don't want to get in no trouble. But let me go to you, Mike. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm surprised where Alabama A&M finished up, considering his mom, as you mentioned, he may not get dinner or dessert for a minute. So I'm like, Deuce, what you doing? Your dad didn't teach me the art of
Dad gonna have to buy a bunch of takeout now.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, I couldn't see the Battle of the Bands. I did see a few bands perform online. The overwhelmingly most news that I heard, obviously I'm a Panther, so I go with the marching stand, but I heard Bethune had showed up really well. So to me, they should have been at the top of the list. So I'll go with Bethune for now. Prairie View does have them for homecoming. So we shall see, to me, who meets the eye test, band against band, on that field, on that hill, the original hill in Prairie View in late October. So we shall see. I don't want to hear the original hill. I can give you the history, but we don't have that much time. So, but yeah, I think your list is solid. I think Alabama A&M has a very, very solid band. Southern is going to drown you with sound. The Human Jukebox, they are always going to drown you with sound. They sound really well. They play a lot of selections, and they always divide. They have this move where they divide up into quadrants. I've always been enamored by them somewhat, but I'm like Dr. Lee, hit him with the bumblebee. So.
Professor Sims, jump in here and tell me what you thought. This is the marching sport. This is the key thing. Just to make sure that you get in there, as I told you, they say marching sport. Everything I know about a sport, that means there's a winner and a loser. So that's how we do the bang. You either win or you lose. What are your thoughts?
Well, look, Doc. I'm gonna be honest with you. I know it's a win and a loss. I'm surprised that the Marching 100, Florida A&M Marching 100 isn't in there. They had a phenomenal performance. Had a lot of family members who were there at the Chapel Hill game, but at the end of the day, they did lose the game. So I understand why they didn't grace inside the top 10. But I am gonna say something, and I'm gonna say it so delicately, because this is the first time I get a chance to say it so delicately. That little squad you got at number 8, them little blue and yellow puppies, this weekend, they got a rude awakening coming from the sound machine. So look out for next week. That sound machine, that maroon and gray, baby, them Eagles. It's no ordinary barnyard foul. We're going to be in that top 10 next week because we're going to spank them puppies. Watch my words now. Absolutely. That's why I'm at with it, Doc.
Sound machine. I like that. Yeah, FAMU didn't get in the poll because it was North Carolina. They don't count. Everybody's supposed to beat up on North Carolina. They were so nice. They were so excited about North Carolina. They asked them to march with you. What kind of sport is that when you ask the band to march with you? They were in competition. Go ahead, A.D. Drew. What do you thought?
I'm gonna make my three quick points. Florida Memorial, Alabama A&M don't get into the poll. Only 12 teams competed this past weekend, so 2 had to be left out. Got to throw that out there. Number 2, Alabama State. It was the only one on your list that I actually saw live, and I called you and told you. I was like, man, I don't know what they're gonna rank on this poll, but Alabama State definitely beat Howard heads up at the game where I was at. And number 3, I know it's just an honorable mention right now, but I got to jump back on my 100, Florida A&M University. When North Carolina marching with FAMU, it's like, it's kind of like when Michael Jordan used to walk in the building, and when they played in the Olympics back in '92, and the athletes from the other teams were asking Michael Jordan for an autograph before he went and dunked on them and put up 30 on them. That's what FAMU was in North Carolina. So FAMU, it's an honorable mention right now, but we gotta remember those bonus points, Dr. Cavil, when they have a head-to-head competition, and you got to add that to their next test score. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay, hold on. Time out. Stop it. Enough, please. You act like that's a big thing. When Grambling went up and played, when Prairie View went and played Texas A&M, Texas A&M gave them a standing ovation, and half of their fans.
They gave the whole halftime too, didn't they?
Yeah.
They wanted to be out there and touch them.
There's more.
They imitated, never duplicated. So if you can't duplicate us, you might as well imitate with us.
Did the same thing.
Carolina's band, Bill Lambier. That's basically what he just talked about.
That's what he said. All right, we're going to move on. That's up with the marching sport. We'll get into it next week, man. These folks trying to lobby. It don't work like that. Win or lose. It don't count when you do North Carolina.
Yeah, it don't count.
Tar Heels, when they come up there and be like, come on, would y'all come do a song with us? No, this is a sport. I like this. Michael Jordan says, no. Mid-major top 10 poll rankings. Let's get into it. You had number 10. You have none other than Tuskegee Golden Tigers. They stay at number 10. They were ranked preseason, so they did not play. It'll be interesting this week for Valley State. At number 9, Florida Memorial Lions. After their victory, they jumped in the top 10 at number 9, as they were not ranked last week. The rest of them are chalk. At number 8 is Miles Golden Bears. At number 7, Savannah State Tigers. At number 6, Kentucky State Thoroughbreds. Top 5 programs are, get you going here, is none other than Virginia Union Panthers, Bowie State Bulldogs, Fayetteville State Broncos, Langston at Lions at number 2, and Always State Golden Rams at number 1 with 7 first-place votes. We won't get into the dialogue here because there wasn't a lot of changes, but I did want everybody to know that we had week 0. We also had slight changes in the major division. We won't go over there, but I do want to drop it on everybody so they can see it. Starting with the top 10 in terms of the major division, slight changes here. Basically, you're going to see where Alabama State moves up, but at number 10, you have Norfolk State Spartans. Some people call them for upset. I don't know about that against Marshall, but we'll see. At number 9, you have none other than Tennessee State. as they go to in terms of number 9. And as you get into it at number 8, you have North Carolina Central. At number 7, you got Alabama State. They jump up 2 spots from previous being number 9. At number 6, you got Alcorn State Braves. Top 5 programs are at number 5, North Carolina A&T Aggies. At Alabama A&M, the Bulldogs at number 4. At number 2, Florida A&M. Rattlers at number 3. You have Florida A&M. At number 2, you have Jackson State. And at number 1, you have South Carolina State. What I like about this is you got a top 10 matchup. You got 2 top 10 matchups, and we'll talk about those in the second half. Let's get into our second commercial. We'll come back, and we'll immerse ourselves on some of these big matchups, and we'll let some of these football gurus get into some of the X's and O's and tell you what they think of some of these matchups, including those top 10 matchups in the major division, which will be fascinating, which will feature North Carolina A&T, North Carolina Central, FAMU, and Jackson State. We'll talk about some of the other matchups as well. Signals will be right back after the second break.
Nope.
Come on, him.
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
At CDW, we get speed as the new currency of success.
Our team spends way too much time tending to outdated applications and software when they should be focused on driving application agility and innovation.
CDW Amplify Development Services modernizes software and application development to help accelerate innovation and digital transformation.
So you mean building new applications, UI, and mobile interfaces?
Well, you said you needed to innovate more quickly.
Oh, so he's a listener.
To do more at scale, trust CDW Amplify Development Services.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, this is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together, we can be the change.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna loud, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
He ran 25 yards.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. You see him.
That ain't no
South
kick.
Carolina, UCF, getting excited. Mike,
talking about that
Australian kick. Let's get into some of this talk. I want to start with the Sunday matchup. Black College Football Hall of Fame Classic, Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium. That is in Canton, Ohio. SIAC against the CIAA. I like that type of matchup. We get to see what is going to happen. Central State Matadors, Winston-Salem State Rams. Obviously, Stephen A. Smith will be there as he will represent for the Black College Hall of Fame. First take as they get in it, representing as an alumni of Winston-Salem State. Should be good. But I want to talk about the matchup. I'm going to go to you first, Drew. Give me a little update of what do you think about Central State Matadors coming out of the SIAC, and I know you write for them over there. But tell us also about Winston-Salem State. What are your thoughts on this matchup? Which direction do you see it going?
Well, let's start off with Central State. Central State with a new head coach, Kevin Porter, who was formerly at Fort Valley State, and of course, Kevin Porter has ties to the NFL with the playing with primarily with the Kansas City Chiefs. And I'll say this about all 3 of the what I like to call recycled coaches in the SIAC. And I use that term respectfully because they've gone from one institution to another institution within the SIAC. All 3 of these coaches, Kevin Porter, Reginald Ruffin, and Willie Slater, had success at their previous institutions, and they had early success at their previous institutions. So I'm honestly expecting them to still be the same. Winston-Salem State, Big losses, Tayshawn Taylor, Joshua Flowers, but they've got some key returners, Deontay Jones, Trevor Willard, Cameron Perkins, Anton Williams, and I could go on and on and on. But fellas, this isn't the Central State of the 2010s. This is the Central State of late against the Central State of late, not the Central State of Billy Joe. I say all that to say I've got a little bit of faith in Kevin Porter. I think Central State's going to surprise some people and go ahead and pull this one off.
Yep, one for the SIAC. That's a big one because CIAA has been getting it done as of late, except for Albany State being able to hold their own. Yeah. Let me go to Joshua to make sure we get everybody in. All right. Joshua, what are your thoughts in terms of this matchup?
Yeah, Doc, I'm Central State. You know, I had the esteemed opportunity when I was in undergrad. We played against Central State in the Ohio Classic, in Cleveland Classic. Played them in the Cleveland Brown Stadium. This was back in 2010. Man, you know, they were a rough, tough team. We were, you know, major FCS program coming in there playing against, and they was rough, man. They were rough and tough. And, you know, obviously all of my storied battles against Winston-Salem State. I'm from Winston-Salem. So it's obviously I have a vested interest in seeing State really kind of turn it around. And that's how you kind of know I'm from Winston-Salem, because we don't call NC State in Winston-Salem. We call Winston-Salem State. Coach Massey's got a good team, man. He's got a good team this year. The big question that's going to come out for me with them coming out of camp is what's going to happen in the backfield, man. How solid and how big are they going to be able to perform against a Central State defense that looks a little bit young, not as experienced as you would hope in this game. But Winston-Salem State's got some experience on the offensive side of the ball. So I'm expecting Coach Massey and that quarterback room that they got there and on the south side of Winston-Salem to come into this game and perform very well. It's going to be close fairly early, but I got State pulling away a little late in the game. I got them really pulling away. Got them winning by 3 touchdowns, man. So we'll see if State can see if they can make me a believer if that offense really can get clicking against that Central State defense. I got them winning by 3 touchdowns, pulling away late.
As they say in North Carolina, he has State winning big. With that, it's 1-1. So, Mike, break it. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
So you both make good points. I think Winston-Salem, they do have a solid coaching staff. What I look at is historically, they finished last year scoring 12.1 points per game, allowing their opponents 22 points a game. Now that's some fuzzy math, but that's almost twice the input. Now that's an order of magnitude input to come into 2022. They got some new players, but Central has some. They have some new players, but from what I've read and what I've seen, they some dogs. They some athletes. They move around the field. They move to the ball fast. So I don't know. So not so fast, my friend. Too many data points, in my opinion, favor Central. So that's my pick.
I like it. So we got 2 for Central, 1 for Winston-Salem State. So we'll see how it ends up next week. As we get into it, let's stay with the mid-major. This is an independent game of the week. Has to be one of the highest ranked teams, number 2, Langston Lions. Obviously, they started off real well, got up to number 1, and then they fell on hard times. So they got a chance to rebound. You know anything about that program, they're chopping up the bits. They go right into it as they play Oklahoma Panhandle State. This weekend is in Langston, W.E. Anderson Stadium. It's a Saturday. It's the Sooner Athletic Conference game at 4 o'clock Central Standard Time. So it'll be interesting to see what's going on there. I'm going to start with you, Mike, and take it back around. What are your thoughts in terms of this matchup that features the number 2 Langston Lions?
You know, I got to go with Langston on this one. Langston has had a pretty good couple of years. They've had a solid offense. They've led that conference, SAC, or been at tops in the offensive output. And I believe they beat Panhandle State last year. Was it 14-7, 10-7, something like that?
Something like that. I know they won.
Yeah. So they played them well. And they did well. I always joked and said, you know, who do they play in that conference? But they beat Wayland Baptist, Arkansas Baptist College last year. So I look for Langston to rebound and to start straight. So I'm picking Langston in this one.
Good point. Let me go back to you, Drew. What do you got?
I'm gonna be honest with you, Doc. Right now, I think Langston may be a little overrated at this early point. in the season. Not quite sure what the quarterback room looks like there in Oklahoma. That's my major concern. If they get the quarterback room figured out, we know what the Langston offense can do. Defensively, their defense has been average to go along with a great offense. Now, if the quarterback situation is not as good as it's been in the past, does that average get exposed? That's the question that has to be determined. I still like Langston in this game, but I don't think it will be a runaway. I think it will be a dip and tuck battle all the way, and Langston with their experience will pull it out.
I'm gonna give you a little bonus. You did so well with that. I'm gonna give you a little bonus, AD Drew. Tell me a little bit about this Tuskegee Fort Valley matchup. What are your thoughts on that?
Man, you about to hear the sore subject
for me. Tuskegee team now. Can
they
stay there?
Look, last year Fort Valley came in and beat us 30-0. Let me repeat that: 30.
I know.
Nothing. And I don't have it in front of me, but I believe we finished that game with not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 yards rushing in that particular game. Wow. I believe and I'm going off of memory on that one, but
I remember it was low. I think it was
4 yards rushing in that game. We had more penalties than rushing yards. That is never a good formula to beat a team. Now, Fort Valley with a new head coach this year. I'm having a brain fart right now. Sean Gibbs is not a head coach at Fort Valley State University, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Wheeler Brown has just taken over, I believe, as athletic director. I believe that announcement was made yesterday. Another school at least he's the interim. He's not the permanent, but another school with athletic directors. You know how I feel about those.
Tell us how you really feel.
Reginald Ruffin has bought his running game from Miles to Tuskegee. He brought his top running back with him over to Tuskegee. He's got a couple quarterbacks in a row. I believe he had 6 quarterbacks in camp. So I think Tuskegee is going to be much improved. I've got to lean towards Tuskegee this year in this game, bouncing back. Victory number 700 for the Golden Tigers in Montgomery, Alabama, in Crampton Bowl, where they've run about 70 other games throughout their history.
Josh, you want to jump in there? I saw you talking a little bit about the coach over there at Fort Valley. Any thoughts on that, or you just want to throw it out there?
Yeah, Doc, I had Coach Gibbs on HBCU Nightly a couple weeks ago when you were on as well, Doc. Man, and Coach Gibbs, obviously, I'm not going to just say this because he's a North Carolina Central grad. He played at Central when we was rocking and rolling in the CIAA. A lot of love to Coach Gibbs. But when Coach Gibbs was on the show, he sung the praises of that running back room. That running back room he had down there. And this is a guy, Coach Gibbs is a guy who's coached Tariq Cohen. He's coached a handful of backs that they've had at A&T. Including the Cartwright kid and all of these guys he's coached. He coached the biggest running back that we've ever had in North Carolina Central. And so literally, man, he sung the praises of this running back room. With obviously a little apprehension, there because he didn't want to get these guys, having the big head. But what Coach Gibbs has down at Valley, bringing a proven staff, some of those guys that's on that staff, guys he retained, but he brought his defensive coordinator down with him from A&T, Denzel Jones, and what he was talking about in that running back room. And then I can't go without saying, AD Drew, but better than nothing is better than nothing. So
how many times y'all gonna say this to me, man? Yeah, they won last year.
My bad, I got to say it one more time. My bad. But look, I don't have very much of a difference happening this year. I do think Tuskegee gets on the board, but I still think that Fort Valley ends up pulling this game out. I'm not going to say big because this is going to be a better game. Tuskegee is a better team this year than they were last year. And any brand new head coach, he ain't coming in won't nobody put a donut on him. So I still got Fort Valley winning, but it ain't looking too good, AD.
Two new
Great
head coaches
points.
in that game.
Great point. Yeah, great coaches, great matchups. Let's get into the major division. Take our last break. This is Dr. Bill inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington Charles Bishop. Charles Bishop is out on assignment. So we have the newest adjunct in here, Joshua Sims Sr., providing that insight and that knowledge. And then we have the clinical professor, A.D. Drew, dropping it as well. Stick with us. We'll be right back after this break.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
Now, you can't live in Texas and not have a good red meat blend. Texas Cowboy Dust is designed for steak and other red meats. It's out to be my most popular spice blend, made with onions, peppers, ground mushrooms, pink salt, and other spices. Texas Cowboy Dust also goes great with chicken, pork, vegetables, and adds a restaurant quality sheen to gravies and sauces.
It's like a loop machine. All around town, people trying to get down.
Vanilla smoked sea salt seasoning is for seafood. The tarragon and fennel bring out the natural sweetness in seafood. I also use it in rice dishes, on yams, asparagus, blueberry pancakes, and believe it or not, chocolate chip cookies. Vanilla smoked sea salt adds a salty and savory component to sweet dishes that create a symphony for the tongue.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna law, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bill with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. We're going to get into the major division. As we get into the major division, we got a couple of games tonight, including the South Carolina State, the Bulldogs traveling to UCF Knights. That game is going on now, maybe about to hit the first quarter. What do you got, Drew?
15 seconds remaining in the first quarter. University of Central Florida, 21. South Carolina State, 0. South Carolina State looks like they will have the ball first and 10 on their 25 to open up on the 20 to open up the second quarter. South Carolina State, Central Florida just punted to end in the first quarter, but there is a flag on the play, so they may be kicking it again.
But man, let me tell you about that rugby punt. South Carolina State tried an Australian punt, and dude ran 25 yards before he kicked the ball.
On the 4th and 19.
Yeah, Coach Pugh looked at him and said, man, like you could tell that look on his face, like, you know we don't do that here, son.
And he almost ran for a first down.
He almost had the first before he punted the ball. If you can see,
but that's gonna be on Friday Follies. That's what that's gonna be.
If you can see the look on Coach Pugh's face, that look said everything.
Before we get into it, yeah, you got to take a picture of that. Wait until Monday when I get on the call. Mississippi Valley State is at Tarleton. That's a 7:00 kickoff. You got Alabama A&M at UAB, which is also a 7 p.m. kickoff. The first game is on ESPN Plus, and the second game is on CBS Sports Network. Let's get into it, and I'm going to go to our new adjunct that's coming in here. We're going to go to this game first. He already told us it's the one we need to keep our eye on. It's on ESPN. Big South, one of the teams that's picked to be at the top, or is picked to be at the top, I should say, North Carolina A&T. You got North Carolina Central that's picked to be near the top of the MEAC, picked officially at number 2. But they'll be right there in the business. Duke's Mayo Classic, Charlotte, North Carolina, Bank of America Stadium, BC Big South versus the MEAC, Saturday, September 3rd, 6:30 kickoff. Number 5, North Carolina A&T State Aggies versus number 8, North Carolina Central Eagles. This is a top 10 matchup. I'm fascinated on it. I wanted to make sure folks on this side, in terms of SWAC, got a little understanding. So I'm going to start with Joshua to make sure he brings us and tell us what is going to go down in this matchup. Who should we keep an eye on? He looks like he's ready to get out there and hit somebody himself. I like it.
You see this face?
Yes.
See this face? Listen, 2017 was the last time we beat these jokers. All right? And I'm going to start off by giving Coach Washington a salute. They went ahead and named Yeager the starting quarterback going into the game. Nothing against the kid Fowler. I thought that he's a pretty good player. But I thought that all of the reports that I was hearing coming out of North Carolina A&T's camp was that the Jägermeister was literally tearing that camp up. They had a 4-quarterback race, including the younger brother of Hendon Hooker, who's the starting quarterback at Tennessee, who was also in that. Mm-hmm. They also had a freshman in that mix as well. But all of the reports were saying that Yeager was really dominating that camp. So I have to give a big salute to Coach Sam Washington on finally making a decision like that. He didn't have a great history of being able to pull the trigger that way. But it ain't gonna matter. Our defense last season, just a little bit about our defense last season. Last season, we had the youngest defense in the MEAC. We had half of our front 7 were freshmen, true freshmen, redshirt freshmen, and sophomores. All of those baby Eagles, they have now come into their own, and they have now spread their wings. And you couple that with, statistically, the second best quarterback in our school's history behind the GOAT, Air Harvey, and Davius Richard. Davius Richard, the second quarterback in school history to pass 2,000+ yards in back-to-back seasons. Not only are we singing his praises at 1801 Fayetteville Street in Durham, North Carolina, but so is everybody in the MEAC. They know what to expect. They know what's happening. And if anybody has a doubt in their mind that the North Carolina Central University Eagles are going to come into this game with our heads held high, ready to rock and roll, and we're going to tear these little puppies from limb to limb. You got a second thing coming. I got us winning by 10 on Saturday. Beautiful weekend, beautiful nighttime kickoff in Charlotte, North Carolina. It's going to be a great night for the Eagles to set the record straight.
Good breakdown, good breakdown. Because of the time, Mike and AD Drew, I'm going to let y'all break down a game apiece, but I do want you to tell me who you think is coming out of this game. You don't have to break it down, but tell me who you got coming out of that North Carolina Central versus A&T game, Mike.
I got A&T.
AD Drew?
Hey,
we got an Eagle. We got A&T. Which direction are you going?
Hey, one of the best dual threat quarterbacks in the nation, Davius Richard. I got to put it on his shoulders. Central.
2-1. I see it. I like it. Good point. So let me go to you, Mike. I want you to break down this Prairie View Labor Day Classic matchup between Prairie View A&M Panthers and at Texas Southern. This is the first year that I can remember in maybe 10 years with neither one of these teams come in ranked into this matchup. Changing coaches, things of that nature. Andrew Body, everybody believes one of the top quarterbacks at the HBCU FCS level. What are your thoughts in terms of this matchup, Mike?
Well, TSU is going to be that X factor with Andrew Body and that offense coming to the game. He's got some new weapons. He's a dual threat quarterback. He could vie for all SWAC if you know, depending on how he plays. In terms of playing Prairie View, defending West champions, we had a chance to talk with Coach Bubba on this past week on 1876 Panthers Sports and Culture, and that team is playing with a chip on their shoulders. Yes, they lost 2 people on the defensive side. One actually went to Southern, but they have Trayvon Conley, a quarterback, who's made some improvements. So you'd expect that offense to go. What you don't know is about that TSU defense. Can they stop a excellent offensive team? You've got Shep, I forget his name, on who's the only Prairie View offensive player who really went all SWAC. He was second team all SWAC. So you've got a returning running back, you've got receivers on the outside, you've got a quarterback in Conley who can get it to him. You've got a coach out of scheme. The question is TSU's defense. Can they hold them into this year? They've got to go road to Prairie, which I may consider hostile territory. So I'm going to go with, not because it's my alma mater, they're both my alma mater, but I'm going to go with Prairie View. They also have some folks on that defensive line. They are underestimated. They brought some folks in on that defensive line from the transported court. So they can give Body a little bit of problem. Force him to move. Force him to beat you on the run. They're built that way. So I look for it to be hot at the beginning, but I look for Prairie View to eventually pull it out.
Again, Joshua AD, you don't have to break it down. You heard right now which direction you're going. Who you picking in this Labor Day Classic on the West Coast side, if you would, Southwest in terms of Texas, West Division of the SWAC. Joshua, who you got? Prairie View, Texas Southern in this matchup.
Andrew Body aside, I've got Prairie View A&M taking this win.
AD Drew, where you going?
Hey, I'm gonna pull out my key sweat. My body all over your body, baby.
Stop,
Texas Southern. Texas Southern.
Yeah, couldn't get that sweep in there. We got 2-1. It's pretty good, pretty good matchup there. Let's get into it.
Real quick, Doc. Jaden Stewart was the dual threat running back I couldn't think of. He was second team all SWAC.
Yeah, I knew you had to mention Stewart. I knew it.
Yeah,
I knew you were going to come back with it. Let me go to 80, Drew. This is a top 10 matchup. In fact, it's a top 3 matchup. We got Jackson State, number 1, versus Florida A&M at number 3. We know all the things that's taken around with FAMU. This is actually the second game. Played really well against North Carolina. We talked about that Sunday in terms of how they look. But this is the Orange Blossom Classic, Miami Gardens, Florida, Hard Rock Stadium. It's the matchup number 2. It is a conference game, Sunday, September the 4th at 4 o'clock. It is on ESPN2. By the way, that Prairie View, Texas Southern Labor Day Classic is on ESPN Plus, as well as the North Carolina Central game is on ESPN3. So I want to make sure you get that out there because I need you to watch these games. With that being said, Drew, break down this matchup for us.
Well, as much as we've been anticipating this game for 63 days right now, because we're 2 days away from 362 days, but we've been anticipating this game. This game is really secondary to the issues that these players are dealing with off the field. Florida A&M with the meltdown within the athletic department, the Jackson State students with the crisis that's going on in their city with the water. So,
great point.
You know, this game should really be renamed the Distraction Bowl because that's what this is. This is going to be for both of these teams. With that being said, Shedeur Sanders, freshman of the year, top-rated quarterback right now in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Jeremy Musa, I think, is going to take that challenge and try to show everyone that the moose is loose and try to go out and supplant Shedeur Sanders as the most talked about quarterback in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. We saw what he did against North Carolina. You know, and if it wasn't for the bad, I won't say the bad call, the untimely call at the end of the first half with the interception going into halftime, that's a totally different ball game for Florida A&M. Now, we're not going to talk about the fourth quarter where they just ran out of legs because, you know, you miss about 15, 20, 30, 40 people due to other issues. But FAMU showed me something in that particular game. I hope, as good as Jackson State is, I hope they are ready because FAMU already has their legs up under them, having played that game against North Carolina. The question is, how long will it take Jackson State to get their game legs up under them? I've got to lean towards Florida A&M because of that.
Yeah, you have to break it down, but I do want to know which direction you're going. Mike, where you going with this one? Jackson State or FAMU?
I'm actually coming to protect FAMU. I think they showed us something. They showed the world something against North. That Musa is real. I think Jackson State's going to really have to put him on guard. You know, Miller's going to do his thing at linebacker. Can they get an edge rush on him? North Carolina was fine by letting him say, "Hey, we'll hit you with the short passes. We'll let you go with the middle passes. We're not going to let you go deep." So he may try to probe that Jackson State defense deep. So how much pressure can they put? And I think Musa is ready to step up to that challenge to meet what the Jackson State bring. And I think it's an important point that my good friend AD drew. FAMU has their legs. They got one in the bucket. They're ready. And I think they'll use their troubles as motivation versus letting them be a distraction. You can't rule out the coaching and the leadership in this as well. Yes, there are two distractions, but I think both coaches for both teams will find a way to let this be motivation for both teams as opposed to being a distraction. Too much is on the line.
Great point. Joshua, he jumped in there. I told him he'd have to do a soliloquy. But if you want to do a little bit on this, let me be fair to you. You can say a little something too and not just pick the score. Go ahead.
Just a little bit, 2 points. In the midst of FAMU's distractions and problems and issues, they still went and played that game and played a heck of a game at that. Minus the about a quarter and a half of that, the second half of the third quarter into the fourth quarter. And then obviously you have to take into context what happened before halftime. In the midst of the distraction, they played a heck of a game. Jeremy Musa, good gracious. The brother can throw. He can let that arm loose. My second point is a little bit in differentiation to that, though. That Jackson State defensive back room, what are they going to do? All of the hype around all of the guys they have going in there. Travis Hunter walked back in the building this week. All kudos, and we're excited about seeing him back in because we want to see that world-class talent, 5-star talent, get on the field and play his best on Sunday. But what about everybody else that's in that JSU defensive back room? We saw Mark Pope decide to transfer. That wide receiver room. We saw FAMU's defensive back court get a little bit torched against UNC Chapel Hill. So I'm looking at the play between the receivers and the DBs. Which defensive back room doesn't get torched the most? And when I'm looking at that and I'm looking skill for skill, I've got to go Jackson State on this one, fellas. I'm sorry. As good as I saw FAMU look in that game against Chapel Hill, minus that call right before halftime, this is a totally different game. But Jackson State is a totally different beast. So I've got JSU winning this game. Close.
Oh,
Great breakdown. I think I said Jackson State at number 1, but it's actually Jackson State number 2. So it's a 2-3 matchup, top 10 matchups. The last one is going off. It's not a top 10. It's Howard, Hampton. Don't want to necessarily break down. I'll do a little bit about that. The question to me is this a big one? HU, can Howard bounce back? Can they get some momentum before they start playing the rest of their schedule, which is strong, and get into the MEAC because they were expected by some folks to be in part of the business, but not so fast so far. Hampton needs this one because they're in the Colonial, and everybody knows about the Colonial, really tough conference. You look at their schedule, they got some of the tougher teams in the Colonial. So besides maybe that Morehouse game, this is one of the few games where you're talking about these teams possibly can get a win when you're talking about Howard. When Hampton is talking about Tuskegee. So this is a big one for both teams, obviously for bragging rights. Fascinating. In terms of win, loss, who you going with, Joshua? Which one you got, Howard or Hampton?
I've got Hampton in this game. Elijah Burris is going to be able to run all over that defense, man. I've got Hampton in this game.
Eddie Drew?
Anybody know what the weather forecast is for the real HU? And the reason I say that is because, Howard was affected, I think, more by the weather than anything else. They could not get any sustained momentum because of the weather and the threat of weather. Defense looked great. Offense just could not get any type of rhythm because of the stopping and starting. I think they go into practice this week and they correct those issues. I've got Howard in this game.
Mike, last one. What you got?
Yeah, I agree with you on this. I got Howard. I won't. So before you shut my mic off, I won't do too much of the breakdown. But I got Howard actually pulling this off. Their defense was solid. They made some critical mistakes, but I think they'll pull it together. So I got Howard pulling this one out.
Man, best thing I can tell everybody in terms of that, make sure you turn on your TVs, watch the games, stream them, do everything you need to do to make sure that you plug these games so we can get the credit in. Extremely good matchups. Excited about what's going on this weekend. Wanted to give a shout out to brother Joe Clay, as he's the one that gave the Jaden Stewart updates. I see you out there, Joe Clay. Appreciate your updates. Shout out to Silas Edward McMorris, Jasmine Reed, Vincent, all these folks jumping in here. Kevin Crawford, Mary Allen, as we said. Appreciate y'all checking us out, sending us love. Daryl Terrell, check us out. We'll be here this weekend. We'll give you updates as we will give you some updates after the weekend. Make sure you turn us on and check us out as continue to do my JB and my BCSN. We will have the Game Time show this weekend, giving you some updates. Obviously, we'll have Carlos Brown giving up his show. But thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop as he's out on assignment. But I want to say thank you to our clinical Professor A.D. Drew, our adjunct guest today, Professor there, Joshua Sims Sr., breaking down and giving us some insight. Look for him regularly. We'll bring him back. He's a guest. He's bringing him along. Looking for him again. Join him on Twitter Spaces with the HBCU Nightly. And don't be surprised if we turn on and he has a show on the show. You know how we bring him in. We look forward to next week as we continue to discuss the latest in the news. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Bill's Inside HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock, Sunday at 9. We might have something special for you on Monday as well this holiday weekend. So follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. That's DrKenyattaCavil, DrKenyattaCavil on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Inside HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube is Inside HBCU Sports Lab. Dream big, continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. 80 Drew.
Central Florida 28, South Carolina State 0. Course.
Mike.
Lecture.
Joshua on the last one. Make sure you say dismiss when I call your name. Joshua.
Dismissed. Eagle Pride.